Hey guys, welcome to Inside the Circle T. Today we have a great brand ambassador, JT Poston. He is known as the Postman to his friends. He's been a long-time putter user, and I look forward to hearing his stories about his Cameron putters and usage and putting stats and all that. So I hope you enjoy this one.
Welcome to Inside the Circle T with Scotty Cameron. My name is Drew Page. Today we have on Scotty Cameron, loyalist, Titleist brand ambassador out of Sea Island, St. Simons Island, Georgia, JT Poston. Thanks for joining us, JT.
Yeah, Drew. Glad to be on. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. What's been going on for you? Have you stayed in St. Simons? Have you traveled a little bit back home to North Carolina? I know it's not too far, but tell us what's been going on.
Yeah, I mean, mostly been here in Sea Island trying to stay put, stay in place. But I've been back to North Carolina, went back for Mother's Day weekend, and been spending a little bit of time in Kiowa. My girlfriend has a place there, so. But mostly been here in Sea Island, and it's been, I mean, fortunately, Georgia's been pretty lax compared to other places, and we've had a little more freedom, I think, than other people, so. I've been able to play some golf and do some stuff as long as I'm following the right guidelines. So, it's been pretty
exactly, yeah. Who have you been able to play with up there? They haven't closed the golf courses?
No, I mean, so there's a bunch of guys here in Sea Island. So I've played with Keith Mitchell, Patton Kazire, Harris English, Brad Schneider, bunch of guys. I mean, Ben Griffin. There's at least probably 20 guys here between PGA Tour, Korn Ferry, and mini tours that are all trying to get ready for whatever they got next. So it's been nice, it's been competitive.
It's almost, Sea Island's pretty comparable to Jupiter down here where I live, and it's kind of like you have all those guys right there. Unfortunately, the courses were closed here for the first majority of it.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's definitely it's a hub. I don't know if there's quite as many guys as Jupiter, but it has the same feel and same benefit just playing with a bunch of those guys.
What's been your most enjoyable, moment or time during this whole process?
Man, I think just as a whole, like, we don't ever get much of an off season, I feel like. So honestly, the first month and a half, I didn't play. I played some golf few times a week, but sort of treated it like an off season almost, and tried to do some workouts, do some stuff to try and basically treat it like I would a regular off season and put the clubs away for a little bit. But I had fun playing some golf with some buddies or some family members, just going out and having a few drinks and having some beers and playing some fun golf instead of the serious tournament golf all the time. So that's kind of been nice to do that, but I've gotten over that. I've gotten my fix there, and I'm ready to get back on the road.
Yeah, of course. Now that you're kind of getting back into tournament mode, PGA Tour announced, I think, start preparing for Colonial. Now that you're doing that, what type of drills are you doing to kind of get ready as far as like putting goes? To kind of get ready.
Yeah. So I've never been much, I'm not a very mechanical putter. I don't have I don't use lines. I don't use mirrors, setups, arcs, any of that stuff. I just have this kind of go-to drill that I did in college. It's called 40s. Basically I put a tee down, 4 different tees all around the hole. And I try and find a hole with some break in it, so I have some right to lefters, some left to righters, uphill and downhill. And I just go 3 feet, and I go until I make 10 from each tee, total of 40 in a row. If I miss, I start over, and I do it until I make 40 in a row. And it just sort of helps me get the ball started on line without having to worry about anything too mechanical. It's something that I learned from my college coach, and I've kind of added on to it over the years. I'll do it at every tournament too, kind of early on in the week, where I'll do 3 feet, and then once I do that, I'll jump back to 6 feet and go until I make 80% of my putts, and then I'll go to the next one. And just sort of doing those drills helps me get the ball started on line without having to think about too much where I'm aiming or get too mechanical with my putting. And it just builds confidence because you see a lot of putts go in the hole.
So outside of that, we had a fan question. Marcini9 from Instagram asked, what is your approach to reading a putt? So, that outside of drills.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of different ways that guys do it, I think. I've always, for one, I look at it from both sides, and I look at it from like a perpendicular angle to try and look at the slope. Just to try, it just all goes into my feel of reading the putt, reading the break, but also reading the speed and really trying to feel out the speed, because that's probably the most important part. But as far as reading it, when I'm looking at it from behind the ball or behind the hole, I don't see a line I'm not very linear. I don't see a line or a straight line, or I don't see a point out there right of the hole or left of the hole. I just see a path that I see the ball going in, and I just kind of picture the speed of the ball going in the center of the hole. And I just sort of, when I set up to it, I just kind of line up to where I think that path would be and where it would start, and I just put it down that path.
So it sounds like you're pretty feel-based rather than, really picking out a spot or mechanical and like a robot. So let's kind of take it back to your influences as a child. Did that come from a coach? Is that how you were taught, or just, how did that come about?
I think it's kind of a little bit of both. I think it's just how I've always been, how I've always read putts, how I've always putted in general. And so I've never really had a putting lesson. The closest thing I've had to a putting lesson probably is working with Paul out there in the studio when I've been out there a few times. And that's really just looking at it on video and comparing from when it's been other times I've been out there or compared to other guys, but it's never really doesn't feel like a lesson, at least.
Right.
But yeah, I think if anything, the best coaching I got from my swing coach was him just letting me do my thing on the putting, because it had always just been a strength of mine. I'd always been a pretty good putter, and even though it was an unconventional way to do it and very much feel based, he kind of let me rely on those feels and figure it out.
Probably a good thing. I would agree most of your peers would agree that, that you roll the ball really well. I mean, everyone that I've known you since junior golf and kind of everyone around has always known you as a great putter. So I think it probably worked out all right.
Yeah, so far so good. So no complaints on my end. I'm gonna stick to what works. If it isn't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly. So while we're on the kind of when you were a child and putting lessons and whatnot, when did you get your first Scotty Cameron, and do you remember what model it was?
Oh yeah, I've got it with me. So it is a circa 62 number 2. I don't know if you can see that, but man, this thing did a lot of good for me over the years. I got it. Pretty funny story. I got it when I was in 8th grade. I had just won the men's club championship at my home golf course, and Scotty Cameron was always, even as a kid, everybody wanted a Scotty Cameron, and I just thought it was the coolest thing. And after winning, I had some shop credit and had enough to get a putter, and I just, summertime, was in the pro shop one day during a afternoon thunderstorm, rain delay, and hitting putts towards the tee, and I kept knocking the tee down from 6, 8, 10 feet, couldn't miss it. And so I was like, man, I kind of want to take this thing out there and try it. And same thing, went out there on the golf course. Once the golf course was back open, I feel like I made everything. So got it right there on the spot, and I used it for 11 years. straight. Never played a single round of golf without it until the Players last year when you gave me my gamer that I've got in there now.
I heard a story that you kept the same grip on there for, I don't know the exact time, but let's say 9 years. It was before my time, but
yeah, that's true. So it might have been more than 9 years. I had the original grip on there until I remember when it was Vegas of my second year on tour. So I probably had it on there for 9-10 years. Yeah. It never really got slippery. I had the Baby T grip on there. Love is one of my favorite grips, period. But it just never got slippery. It always was tacky, and it had gotten so worn that it was almost like it was worn into my grip, and
right.
Or the way that I grip it. It just felt so comfortable and felt so good in my hands that I didn't want to change it. Anytime I picked up somebody else's putter and they had a newer grip or just something that felt different than mine, I didn't like how it felt. So being a field putter, I was like, if it feels good, I'm not going to change it. And one day got to Vegas and pulled it out of the travel bag after I landed, and half the grip was basically hanging off. It had come off during the flight or something, so had to change it.
So that leads me into you mentioned getting the new one at the Players last year.
Yep.
Cam Goldie asked on Instagram, what made you choose your putter?
So I had used the old one forever, and honestly, I never thought I'd get away from it. But I had noticed in the probably the 6 months leading up to when I changed it, that I was just getting streaky. I still felt like I was a good putter. I feel like I can read greens really well, but I would just have days where I would go out there and I could not miss from inside of 30 feet, it felt like. And then the very next day I'd go out in a tournament round, same day, same greens, and I would have a really hard time from anything, even like 5-footers that are dead straight up the hill. And I just started wondering if I was just not getting lined up consistently or something. I don't know. I couldn't really figure out why. And I remember talking to you and Paul on the putting green at the Players last year and kind of telling y'all what I was thinking. And I really liked the way the mallet looked, especially with the black line. And so that's what we went with. And my biggest concern was the mallet being a little heavier, and if that was going to be an issue speed wise. But yeah, y'all were able to make that face pretty much feel exactly how the old gamer did. It just was a little bit of an easier, basically helped me line it up and give me a little more confidence, more consistency inside of that 10-15 foot range.
So I can't remember exactly. Another fan question here. More Rob 38 asked, what putter models have you experimented with? Did we try any other ones that week?
So the gamer now is the Golo 5. This is the one that's in the bag now. I don't know that we tried any different heads, but I think you would know better than me. But the milling or something on the face, I think is normally there's more of it there, or it gives like that softer feel, and I kind of like that firmer touch where I can almost feel the click of the ball or the contact of the ball, because just for my feel, that's what the blade, that's what the Circa 62 felt like to me, and that was my biggest concern, switching to something that's a totally different head. Great look. I mean, the line on the back, I don't know if you can see that, but the line on the back helps me, is a huge difference inside of 10 feet. I know exactly where I'm looking. So
before you had a dot up on top of the Circa, what was it like transitioning from that dot to a line? Some people, it might be difficult. It kind of clicked right away for you.
Yeah, it definitely clicked. I think it's definitely a big difference, but the nice thing was, one, the line is, it's not on the top of the putter, it's on the back. So it's not directly lining up to the ball. So it still kind of feels like I can putt like with my path that I see when I read greens. I don't feel like but it just gives me a general direction, and it doesn't stick out as much because it's all blacked out. It's not as, to me, a white line would look a little more glaring, especially on a white or on a black putter head. And I think that would almost catch my eye too much, where I'd be too focused on where the lines lined up, as opposed to everything's black, so I can still kind of just line the putter head up wherever I feel is comfortable, and then just can use the line on the back of the mallet as sort of a visual aid as far as where I'm stroking it.
You got that putter at the Players 2019, had a pretty solid, rest of the year, and then you got your first win later that year. I'm going to backtrack just a little bit and kind of talk about, getting onto the PGA Tour. 2016, started the year with no status on Korn Ferry or PGA Tour. And I think I remember playing a practice round with you for a Monday qualifier somewhere. Neither one of us had status. And then a couple weeks later, you Mondayed into a Korn Ferry event, finished 23rd, got into the next week. Take it from there. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it was a wild ride. So basically, I don't know, a few weeks before that, a month before that, I had done PGA Canada Q school and got status, but it wasn't great status. So, but it was good enough. That was kind of my plan, was I was going to go to Canada and play that summer and try and improve my status that way and work my way up the ranks. But in the meantime, that wasn't going to start until the summer. So in the meantime, I was going to do some web Mondays. And so I Mondayed in to Indiana, made the cut on the number, finished 23rd, which got, I eagled my last hole of the tournament to finish 23rd, chipped in from about 20 yards, which was pretty wild. But go to the next week, finished solo third, in Raleigh, which got me enough money to earn status on the web the rest of the year, and or Korn Ferry now, I guess. But played the rest of the year, probably 18, 20 more events after that, and just kind of rode that wave of momentum. I had a couple other really good finishes. Never won, but played solid enough to finish inside that top 25 at the end of the regular season and get my tour card all in the same, basically 4-month stretch. So it was crazy. I mean, no status in middle of April to playing in my first tour event in Napa, basically first or second week of September, I guess. So it was wild. It was pretty fun.
Yeah. What would you tell up and coming junior golfers, amateur golfers who are turning pro that, what piece of advice would you give them, that, they're not coming out with sponsor exemptions and whatnot? They'll be in the same boat as you. What's your biggest piece of advice you could do?
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of professional golf, is you have guys that have had tons of success in junior and amateur and college golf, and that's great. I mean, obviously, if you have success at those levels, especially the amount of success that some of those guys have had, that could easily lead to a lot of success at the professional golf level. But once everybody turns pro, you're kind of starting over, just because they don't just give you a PGA Tour card because you're the number one college player every year. You still have to, even those guys still have to go out and earn it, even when they get those sponsor exemptions. So, to me, it was always really exciting, just to be able to start at the same place as everybody else, basically. And I knew I was going to work hard and work my way up. And if you're somebody that wants to do the same, if you have that type of attitude, that type of mentality, then there's no reason why you can't achieve what any of these other guys are doing.
Yeah, I agree. We have a fan question from Evan Rhodes 3, and you mentioned high school there. He asked, as a Hickory High School state champion and PGA Tour winner, how would you rate your success?
So far, so good. I mean, this is my dream growing up, was always to play on the PGA Tour and win on the PGA Tour. And yeah, I mean, this is living my dream. But you know, my goals have shifted even since the win. I mean, I don't want to just stop at one win. I want to have a long career and win multiple times out there on tour and win a major. And so yeah, I mean, I'd give myself if you'd asked me in high school, I'd have given myself a 10 out of 10 where I am now. But right now that I've gotten here and I've achieved what I have, I'd give myself about a 8 out of 10 and hopefully try and get a few more wins in a major, and then I can give myself a 10 out of 10.
So you won the 2019 Wyndham Championship.
Yeah.
You went that was your first PGA Tour win. And you actually, I don't know if you know this, but I know you went bogey free, and you became the first player since 1974 to go bogey free and win a PGA Tour event. Did you know that part?
I didn't know it at the time while I was playing, but people were telling me that after the tournament was over, and kind of the same thing, asking my thoughts on it, and I had no idea. But it is, I mean, I guess Lee Trevino was the last guy to do it 45 years ago. So, I mean, that guy's had a heck of a career. I mean, that's pretty good company to be in, I guess. So, I tell people all the time the bogey free thing was kind of a good thing for me, trying to get my first win, because coming down the stretch, I had to make kind of the key putts that people talk about, the big par putts that kind of keep the momentum going, a couple of birdie putts to kind of keep the pedal down because the scores were so low. And the whole time, I mean, over those par putts, I wasn't thinking about, you know, this is to keep me tied for the lead or to keep me one ahead or one back. I was never really thinking about where I stood on the leaderboard or what that putt meant in that regard. But more so, I was just trying to finish the tournament bogey free, just because I felt like if I could go 72 holes without a bogey, then, and if I didn't win, then so be it. I got beat. But I could honestly say that I never, you know, gave any shots back to the field. And if I go 72 holes without a bogey, then that's a great week of golf. So that was kind of my focus, was I was trying to make the putts just to stay bogey free, as opposed to trying to make the putts to feel like what it meant as far as where I was on the leaderboard.
Bearded cigar guy asked, how often do you get the specs checked on your putter?
That's a good question. I don't really have a system as far as when I do it. I mean, sometimes you're pretty good about reminding me, hey, when was the last time you got them checked? Because as much as we travel, we probably should get it checked more. I probably should get it checked more than I do, but it's a lot of times it's just sort of, if I feel like I'm putting well, and sometimes you can just be rolling it well and you aren't going to make putts. But to me, sometimes if I feel like I'm putting a good stroke on it and the ball doesn't look like it's coming out where I think it's going to, then it sort of clicks in my head. Not that that's the reason why, but it's just kind of one thing I can check off the list as far as I'm going to get the specs checked and make sure that they're good. That way, it's kind of usually kind of my checklist of things to check if I start feeling like I'm not rolling it as well or rolling it like I should.
Right. I know that we did try a couple different putters that week while we were trying to get, you know, a replica of your gamer in.
Yeah.
Freddie Evan asked, do you keep all your putters or do you get rid of them when you kind of get to the new one or find the one you like?
I keep them, but I'm probably not the right person to ask, because I've only had two basically in my whole life, two Scotty Camerons. I probably have 5 now, but a couple of them are backups that I've never used. They're kind of there in case I need them. And I have one with me actually that's sort of just a cool memento that I got from Paul my rookie year when I was out there in the studio. Just kind of basically just a cool looking blade putter that I've never used, but it's got my nickname Postman on it, and just sort of cool to have around the house.
So, couple questions here. When Sanity asked, who gave you the name Postman?
Keith Mitchell, I think, was the first one. A lot of people think that it's like closing on Sundays, like that I play really well on Sundays, and that it's a golf term, but it was definitely before the nickname came, before I even got on tour. It was just Keith gave it to me. I mean, my last name's Poston, and he just started calling me Postman, and it just sort of stuck once I got out on tour. And I can't remember. I don't think there was I don't know if there was a specific, thing that happened or wherever it came about. I think he just started calling me that, and guys around here in Sea Island started doing it, and it just sort of snowball effect from there.
So you have that stamped on that one putter. I believe you have it here with you. You want to show us that?
Yeah.
And then can you talk a little bit about coming into the studio and working with Paul and meeting Scotty for the first time and what that was like?
Yeah, so here's the putter. It's the 009 black
with a beach in it.
Yeah, it's got a little beach in it. A little different feel, but I don't know if you can see that.
Perfect right there.
Postman. Yeah, I mean, the studio is for a big golf, any big golf fan or golf guru. I mean, as much golf as we play, it's just the coolest. I think it's the coolest experience that you can have, just because there's so much technology. I mean, Paul's such a good dude, and he's been doing it for so long, and he knows what he's talking about. And you go into this studio, and there's just so many different, like, cool putters, head covers, the technology in there. I mean, for me, I got this putter when I think that was my rookie year. It was actually the first time that I went in there. And I only was going in to make a backup for the Circa 62 because I didn't have one. And I knew I was about to be traveling a lot my rookie year. And last thing I wanted to do was for something to happen to it while flying or something and not have another putter like it. So that was kind of the reason I went. But coming out, it felt like I had just left, like, the golfer's version of Disney World. I mean, I was in there looking at videos of Tiger's putting, Ricky's putting, different guys, different names putting over the years, and being able to use that video and compare mine to theirs. And there's so many cool putters in there, replicas or originals. I'm not really sure. You would know better than me, but there's just the putters that guys have used to win big tournaments and make big putts over the history of golf. And it's just cool to be in there and just see it all. And yes, to meet Scotty, I mean, he was just as cool as could be. I mean, for somebody that has that sort of recognition and that sort of influence on the game of golf, I feel like he was just so down to earth and so cool. And for being a rookie, like, he could have, obviously I'm a Titleist guy and Scotty Cameron guy, and I felt like he treated me just like he would a bigger name, a Justin Thomas or a Jordan Spieth, I thought that was really cool. And yeah, I mean, I'm just happy to be a part of the team and use their putters.
Well, we always appreciate, your success, and we're happy to help you with everything, and we're glad that you're on board with us. Let's jump into a little rapid fire on the hot seat here.
All right.
Just kind of shoot off questions here, and you can say whatever comes to mind. All right?
Perfect.
All right. Favorite sports movie?
Oh, Happy Gilmore.
Greatest moment as a golf fan?
Probably watching Tiger at Augusta when I was, I don't know, 6 or 7 years old, just watching him play a practice round.
Funniest golfer on tour?
Harold Varner.
I asked Bud that one. He said the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's nobody more fun to play with and more entertaining to play with than Harold.
All right. Masters or U.S. Open win?
Masters.
Name a non-golfer you want to play with.
Michael Jordan, after watching that documentary. I mean, he's got me ready to go play golf every week for the rest of the year.
Yeah. If you weren't playing golf, what sport would you be playing?
Probably basketball. Basketball was always my favorite growing up. Big Tar Heel fan, so that's my answer, basketball.
What album/music are you listening to right now?
This morning, Kygo, the new Kygo album is pretty good. So that'll probably be on repeat for the next week or so.
Jordan or LeBron?
Jordan. Jordan.
I knew that answer was coming after you.
Yeah,
after you
Tar Heel and watch the documentary, Jordan, all day long.
Yep. Texting or talking?
Texting.
Lowest score ever?
60.
All right. How many course records do you have?
I can think of 3 right now. My home golf course was where I shot 60. I shot, 63 at Foxfire in Pinehurst, which was a course record. I have tied it at Diamond Creek with 62.
Awesome.
I think.
Well,
I don't know if those are still up. They could have been beaten, especially the Foxfire one. I think people can go lower than that, but I know those are course records when I shot them.
Well, if someone's beating it, then I'm sure they'll comment on Instagram and call you out.
Yeah, well, they can feel free to call me out. Fill me in.
Well, thanks so much. You're off the hot seat now. Thank you for joining us on Inside the Circle T, and we're really looking forward to being back out on PGA Tour with you, and wish you continued success.
Thanks, Drew. Yeah, appreciate you guys having me on. That was fun. Hopefully see y'all out there soon.
Definitely. All right, take care. See you soon.
All right, see you, Drew.
Okay, bye.